Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for AI Masterclass 2. My name's David, and in this session, I'm going to teach you how to use our new Agentic Creative Studio to build beautiful, performant ads for your business on Amazon. I've been at Amazon for 6 years, and I spent most of that time working in the seller business, so I'm really excited to be back here with you all today at Accelerate. Hopefully you saw the announcement this morning. We're really excited to finally be able to share the new Creative Studio. In this new Creative Studio experience, we've injected a creative agent. And this agent is something that you can talk to directly to build any type of creative asset that you need for your business on Amazon. In this session, I'm going to show you a lot of videos like this. These are all me actually using the tool. And the reason I do this is I want to cut through any of the hype and show you exactly how a non-creative uses this tool to build great ads. We're going to tackle this today in 4 parts. First, I'm going to show you some examples demonstrating the evolution of AI creative. Then, I'm going to break down what makes for a performant creative so that we can think about what we want to do with the AI when we build an ad. Then I'm going to show you examples of how I build with Creative Studio. I'm going to show you both all of the different things you can do with it. There are dozens of capabilities in this new tool that you're going to want to go home and try for yourself. And I'm going to show you my favorite use cases in depth. And then we're going to bring up a very special guest, Destiny Wishon, CEO of Better Media, who's been hands-on with this tool for several months during our beta, and she's going to tell you about her experience using it. First, let's talk about the evolution of AI creative. I think we've all seen that AI has continued to improve at a rapid clip over the last several years. But the key thing you have to do, and I've seen this from working really closely with AI, is you have to test AI for the specific use cases you have in mind. You only know if it'll work for you if you really try it. And so I want to walk you through some of my tests that I run to show you the progress that I'm seeing. One of the things that we get to do that's really fun on our team is we get to constantly test these models. And one test that we've been running for years is to ask image models to create a lemon that looks like a basketball. In 2023, when we started this journey, these models couldn't execute this kind of novel concept. You would just get a lemon, and it wasn't very useful if you wanted to make a really creative ad. At Accelerate 2024, a year ago from today, we showed you this example. You can see that the models were starting to get better and starting to be something that could help us execute more creative concepts. But today, using the new Creative Studio, I'm able to fully execute this concept as a full ad. So you'll notice here that one, we have a perfect lemon that actually looks like a basketball. We can now perfectly execute these complex novel concepts. And in addition, using the agentic experience, I was able to add ad copy to this that plays on the concept and add a beautiful background. So you can see here you're quickly able to make an ad with this. Now the next thing we want to look at is how we can take an image and make it into a video. This is something that's been a lagging capability that's been a bit behind image and text historically with AI. In 2024, if you look at this video on the left, it's kind of hard to see because there's not a lot of motion there, because that was the best in class in early 2024. Compare that with what you can do today in Creative Studio, and I think you'll see that we're in quite a different world. Now we've got a real ad where the product can interact with the dynamic environment. And what was even more fun, when I made this, the system invented this concept. It played on the fact that the cooler was being hit by a wave and used that as a way to sell the durability of the product. So we love seeing that. The next thing you're going to want to do, and that these systems are now ready to help you with, is to take those scenes and make them into multi-scene videos. Now, we first launched multi-scene videos for advertisers a year ago today, and I want to show you what that video looked like to show you how far we've come. So in 2024, we had simple videos, one shot without a product, then one with. A little bit of motion there. There's something effective about that ad. But let me show you what I can create with Creative Studio for this same brand today. So what you'll notice here is the flexibility I now have as a user with this tool is so much more. I was able to create many different types of scenes and create a much richer story. And each scene is now full of motion and true to life. You'll also notice in the third scene I was able to add people, and we'll talk more about the importance of people in these videos as we get further into the talk, but keep an eye on that. The next thing I want to talk about is what makes for a performant creative so that we know what we're trying to put in our creatives when we build these ads. To inform this, we refreshed a deep dive that we'd done last year, and we took 2,000 random campaigns from this year and graphed them by CTR. We're using CTR as a proxy here for overall performance, and you'll notice that a very small number of the ads, only 5%, represent a much higher performance than all the others. And so I went through these manually to look at the creatives and try to understand what was it about the creatives in these ads that was driving performance. And there were 4 things that I took away from this. The first was that all of the creatives in these performant ads had a clear, product-focused visual message. It sounds basic, but it's really foundational. You want to make sure the visual at a glance communicates what the product is and how it's going to be used. The performant ads then used headlines to accentuate the why of the product. So really land the value to the customer to augment the visual. The third thing was that these ads had much better aesthetics than the lower performers. And what's great about where these AI tools are, as you saw from some of those examples I just shared, is you now can create professional-grade aesthetics with these tools. And then finally, it's critical to have people using your products. You want a shopper to be able to visualize themselves using your product. You want to connect to them on a personal level so that they can think about what their life is going to be like after they make their purchase. Let's go through a few examples to show you what I mean by this. So this example is one that we shared last year at Accelerate. It's a pretty good ad. Some things I like about this is that this is a trail running shoe, and we can see front and center what the product is. It's right there in the middle of the shot. It's also got a pretty good background. The background has mountains, so we get the evocation of trail running. It's also got a pretty good headline that explains the why of the product. It's talking about the durability and that this product's gonna last longer. But what's really missing in this creative is that without people, we can't actually show how a shoe is really used. And so it ends up being a bit abstract. It's hard as a shopper to connect with this creative. And so I reran the shot through the new Creative Studio, and I think you'll see that the result is now completely different, just with a few small tweaks. So here, I'm able to actually show a runner, and you can imagine now that a shopper's gonna see this, and they're gonna envision that they bought the shoe, they went on this trail running adventure, and they ended it with this beautiful moment in nature alone, making this memory, right? And that is the kind of thing you want shoppers to feel when they see your advertising creative. And if we look back at the performance data, we'll see that videos overall have a 15% higher click-through rate than image creatives. And so I wanted to try to break down that concept from that last image into a video creative so that we could talk a bit about the benefits of video over image creatives. So what's really fun about this is you can see right away why video is such a powerful medium. So one, you heard that I was able to add music. That's very easy to do with Creative Studio. It makes for a more immersive experience. Also, each scene of the video is an opportunity to tell a new part of my message. So I'm able to show a different benefit of the product, a different way it might be used. And in this video, I was able to tell that full story that was just being implied with the image creative. And so this video creation allows for extended storytelling, and it's very easy to do this within the new Creative Studio. So let's talk about how you actually want to build with the new Creative Studio. But before we do that, the new experience is agentic. We talked about that quite a few times today. And so I wanted to do a quick quiz with the group. It's a big room, so you don't have to shout out your answers, but keep it in your head so you can know if you won or not. Is an agentic AI system a system that makes its own choices? Is it B, a system that plans ahead and follows through? Is it C, a system that adapts to what's happening? Or is it D, a system that works toward goals without constant direction? Well, if you guessed any of those, you were right. And if you guessed all of these things, you were really right. Because one of the things that's really powerful about agentic AI is that it can do all of these things. And if you ask yourself, why do we care as an advertiser? The reason is that with these agentic capabilities, we are able to unlock dozens of things that you can do within the Creative Studio that you couldn't do before. And I see people raising their phones to take a picture. That's awesome. I was going to recommend that. You're going to want to look at the slide later when you get hands-on with the tool. These are the things you want to try. And what's beautiful about this tool is that it's constantly going to give you new surprises, depending on what you try to do with it. We've seen creatives come in with a full script and execute a complex video. We've seen non-creatives come in with just a few images and build a full campaign. You can build audio. I'm really excited to see what you all do when you experiment with this. And there's always going to be more and more coming through this. But let's focus in on my 3 favorite use cases. And I'm going to show you exactly how I use the tool to do these things. The first one is creating concepts and ideas. As a non-creative myself, this is the most daunting thing if I think about how to build an ad. I wouldn't know where to get started, and the system can help you come up with great ideas for your ads. Next, I'm going to show you how to generate images. We have other tools that we offer for image generation, but the way you can now do it in the Agentic Creative Studio is really powerful, and I want to show you the nuance and how you want to use that. And then we'll talk about building full stories through video creation in Creative Studio. So here I am, creating concepts. You can see that I asked the system to build concepts for me. I grab an ASIN, and I put it in. It then goes and does all the research for me, so it's fully understanding what the product is all about. It analyzes it in seconds, and then it prints out concepts for me. And I want to show what these concepts look like. They're different every time, so this was from a different session. But this concept was exciting because this probiotic product has 50 billion CFUs. It's one of the key selling points for the product. And if we zoom in on concept 2, you can see how the system interpreted that fact about the product and put it into this slogan, which is really cool. It also correctly identified who we're selling to in this case, and it added a justification so that we can all understand why it did that, which is really valuable so you can fully understand how it's thought about your product. So this is the first thing I recommend you try when you get your hands on. Put your products in, see what concepts you can come up with. Now the next thing I want to do is build images for a new product launch. So you can see me here dropping in a picture of an image and asking for images to be generated. I'm giving it the name of the product. The system's going to think through my requests. And then here, this is really important. If it ever doesn't have enough information, it's just going to ask you for what it needs, which is a really cool aspect of the tool. So you can see here that it's asking me for a bit more information, and I'm just answering those questions in the prompt. So I'm telling it that I want to run these images in different placements, I want to drive sales, and I'm talking a bit about the product. And by the way, if you already have an ASIN, you can just drop the link in. This was a new product launch, so I'm typing in the information. And then it starts image generation. And this is slightly sped up. In real life, you could go grab a coffee at this moment. It takes a few minutes. But in about 7 minutes, I was able to get these images. And you can see what it's doing here is it's writing all the prompts for me, no specific prompting needed. And I come back with a bunch of images. And so here's what this looks like, the output. I created those trail running images. Then I asked it for a few more types of shots. I asked for some studio shots and some shots with a blue background. And I got these images. I really liked that one of the person running through the creek. So I just scrolled up, and I asked the system to create that same image in different aspect ratios, because I wanted to run it across different formats. And this is a use case I'm really excited about, because we think it's going to let people tell a cohesive visual message across different formats. So you can see here, it keeps, with really great fidelity, the core of the image, and extends it out. And here's what the output of that looks like. So you can see I did it once on the left. That's the session I just showed you. And then I did it again with those blue images, which I also really liked. You could do a ton with this. There could be so much more. This took me about 3 minutes, so you could spend a lot more time and get a lot of different variations. Here's the big use case. This is me actually building a video. This is sped up. This took me 35 minutes in real life, and I've cut it down to 2 minutes here, but this shows all the steps that I took. So you'll see that with a video, I'm building out a slightly bigger prompt. There's more detail I had in mind here. For example, I knew I wanted a 3-scene video, so I told the system that. You'll also see me update the logo, the product image again, and then I also liked that creek shot, so I put that in here. It understood that brief and gave me concepts. I liked the third, so I just said 3. Then it wrote a script, which I approved by just saying yes. And this is the storyboarding moment, which is really exciting. So this is when it creates images for each part of my story. I swapped out scene 1 because I didn't like the image. You'll see that happen quickly. And then I just went ahead and animated each scene. And the system does all these things for you, but you're in the loop, so you can always change anything you don't like. You'll see me scroll over and test the animations and make sure I like them. And then I asked for music. It gave me 3 music options, and I picked the third one. And then I went to our traditional editor, which rounds out the process. And in real life, I probably would have spent more like an hour on this video, but this is the abbreviated version. I probably would have spent a little more time going back on some of the scenes. But so all up, from the videos you just saw of me working through with the tool, I probably spent an hour to an hour and 15 minutes on this campaign. And I want to give you a visual of what it looks like for a non-creative using this tool. So really magical for me as a non-creative person to create this. I would have literally no idea how to do this without this tool. And so I'm hoping you all will have that same exciting moment the first time you get to try this. Look in your Accelerate apps because we're starting to roll this out today. And so you should be able to join the waitlist and get access very shortly to it. To augment my experience and talk about her experience using the tool, I'd now like to invite up Destiny Wishan, CEO of Better Media. She's been using the tool for quite a while, and she's going to talk about her experience.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for the introduction, David. So David has given a lot of incredible recommendations, but what does this actually look like in practice, especially as a brand or for an agency? Well, one of the problems I would say that we have as an agency, who is primarily advertising first, is we have a lot of really big ideas, but our brands don't always have the budget or the resources to action on those ideas. And this specific example that we're talking through today is showcasing one of our brands, Bird Buddy. If you don't know, Bird Buddy is an innovative bird feeder that is AI-powered and allows you to scroll your live bird feeder on your phone. This is a highly, highly giftable product, typically does really well during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but our team identified an opportunity to connect with an audience that we hadn't really targeted before. And that was using a Father's Day campaign. So we're all excited, we have this big idea, we go to our brand and we're like, look, we've identified this opportunity, what kind of creative assets do you have? Well, they didn't have anything specific for Father's Day. We realized this was a perfect opportunity for us to work with the Amazon team and really lean on Creative Studio to see what we could create. And this was the commercial. Give Dad his own nature channel. Now again, this was not a video that we already had. This was a unique opportunity our team identified with a micro season, went to the brands, and we were able to work directly with them to create this asset. Using Creative Studio, it took us less than 48 hours to go live on this campaign, which is pretty incredible. Now, one thing I will mention is with anything AI, it's absolutely progress over perfection. A lot of brands are leaning into AI and expecting to have some professional grade creative that they can use everywhere within 5 minutes. It's not quite how it works just yet. So using Creative Studio, we leaned into a few different concepts. One, we wanted something in the commercial that reflected the audience we were targeting. You'll see an older gentleman was shown. That was incredible because that was the exact audience that we were trying to capture. We were also leaning into the giftability of the product and the give dad his own nature channel. A lot of these concepts are the things that David was calling out, is how do you showcase your product live? How do you put someone in the video that really relates to the audience? Now again, all great in theory, right? This is the exact results from this campaign. Click-through rate was incredible. That was probably the metric we were most proud of, a 338% increase in click-through rate versus all other campaigns. Why? I mean, people that were searching for Father's Day keywords saw an ad that they related to. It really stood out to them because it was showing them exactly what they were searching for. Now, other key callouts, 89% increase in new-to-brand offers. All of my Amazon advertising people in the crowd, are going to be concerned with these KPIs. This was a big one for us because it was a net new audience that we were targeting with a video made for them. The other callout that matters the most for people is always ROAS. We saw a fantastic return with this campaign. That was a really big plus for the brand who leaned into AI for the first time. Now again, progress over perfection. This was something that we've really been working towards, and this was a micro season for us. Father's Day was not our Super Bowl. But because we were able to go to market so quickly with a video, and the results spoke for themselves, we've now unlocked a much larger opportunity to identify other key seasons, maybe that are outside of Black Friday, Cyber Monday. That's been a big opportunity for us because we can now take one asset and reiterate it for every other audience that we may want to attract, which I think is probably the best part about AI, in my opinion, is, again, we have a lot of big ideas. We can't always action on those ideas, but Creative Studio is now giving us an opportunity to do that. Now, we want to cover a few key takeaways and tips for some actionable advice here. The one thing I will mention from playing around with Creative Studio is AI has come a long way in a short amount of time. Keep that in mind. It's progressed so much in the last 2 years. Think about how much quicker it's going to progress in the future. For all of the brands who have played around with the tools and like, look, it's not there yet. Keep testing. Things change incredibly quickly, and as we saw with the results, it may not be perfect, but it performs incredibly well, and you can keep iterating on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for all of you, you saw what I did, but you have a much better advantage than I do because you know your business, right? So you know what good looks like in your space. So it's critical, like Dusty's saying, for you to get hands-on and get the nuance that you need into the experience and into the ads you're creating. And to reiterate some of the tips that she shared, spend some time with it. If you have any existing assets or guidelines, get those in there so that it understands your vision. The AI is going to respond really well to all different kinds of guidance and balance those things in its brain, if you will, and help you execute those. So start with concept generation, then go to images, start with short videos, and then before you know it, you'll be an expert making longer videos.
An expert?
Yeah.
That is quite the promise, because this is something that our team has played a lot with, and we're advertising experts. I've never been creative first, and I think that's what made this such an incredible opportunity. As David said, you know your brand, you know your audience, your brand guidelines. Use those things to really empower the output of AI and make sure you're getting something that's creative and really speaks to who you're wanting to attract.
Yeah, absolutely. And so to be hands-on, don't forget to look in the Accelerate app for access to the tool. We're going to enroll people starting today on a first-come, first-served basis. Or you can just go into Ads Console. You'll notice as of today that under Creative Tools, you'll see Creative Studio now, and there's a home page where you can just click and join the waitlist, front and center. So we're really excited to see what you're all going to create with this. And thank you so much for listening to us today.